It's time to get clear, get heard, and get paid. And join us on our Soul Business Retreat. Attract your dream clients and income over 3 nights as we shape your passion into a business that makes a profit. Follow our 13 steps to reach 5K in 30 days in the beautiful Byron Bay. Whether you're starting, growing, or expanding your business, our all-inclusive 3-night retreat is the place for you. Check out the details in the show notes, and we hope to see you soon. Welcome to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We are so excited to have you joining us on this journey where we explore different ways to empower your soul, whether it's healing in your kitchen or all the way up in the corporate world. Come with us as we look into different ways to heal your mind, body, and soul. Hey everyone, it's Catherine from Willow Healing, and today I have with us Scottie Schneider. So Scottie is a West Point grad and retired military officer turned hippie musician. I don't know why I couldn't get that word out, and plant medicine facilitator. He's dedicated his life to helping people heal through whatever means suits them, and with a particular focus on psychedelic medicines and holistic therapy informed by indigenous practices. So a big welcome to the show, Scottie.
Hello, thank you for having me. I'm so honored to be here.
So I'm very excited for these conversations. So I was laughing at Scottie because his bio that he shared with me was very, very small. And then when I pulled up the big one, I was like, no, this is what we need to talk about. So how did you get pulled into such a different pathway, I guess, into becoming a hippie musician and then feeling pulled to work with plants?
I sometimes wonder what my life would be like if I'd stayed in the army. I've got a lot of friends that still did, and I think the longer you stay in the army, the more rigid you typically get. This hierarchical structure, and this is the way that things should be, and you kind of get rooted in the traditional Western way of viewing things. When I was 3 years in my army service, well, I had 4 years through West Point and 3 years as an officer. I was training in Alaska, so I was posted in Alaska, and I got super, super lost at like -40. Almost died, ended up with fourth and fifth degree frostbite to my right foot and third degree to my fingertips. So I like nearly lost half my foot. At the end of the day, I only got like a toe and a half cut off, so yay me. But it was enough. The injury was severe enough to get me medically retired out of the army. So it's like, here I am, like the only thing that I'd ever really wanted to do. And they're like, yep, can't do that anymore. Gotta do something else. Like, what the heck, man? So I got out of the army, went into corporate chemical oil field sales, and that was like the worst thing I could have ever done. Because they're like, here's an expense card, and go get people drunk, and get them to buy chemicals. And I was really good at it, because I was really good at getting drunk. And now I can do it for free. And I was like, oh my God, before you know it, I'm a halfway functional alcoholic. So around 2015, I was just like, this is not going well. Like, I'm not happy with my life. And I started traveling around. I went to Puerto Rico. Ended up in Puerto Rico for about 6 months because one of the things I did that was actually kind of saved me, I became a semi-professional salsa dancer, if you could believe it, because I needed to like recover my mobility. I could barely walk, so I became a semi-professional salsa dancer. Ended up in Puerto Rico, and a friend of mine invited me over to Medellin, Colombia, and that's where my entire life changed about 10 years ago. Came into Colombia the first time. It was like, this feels like home, and then I got introduced to the Colombian family and the Colombian culture, fell in love with it, started to try to work on myself and figure out what I was doing wrong, and then eventually Mother Hey, ayahuasca grabbed me and then showed me what was up. So I'll leave it there because that was a lot of information.
Oh, no, that's amazing. And I love that to get your mobility back up, you picked up salsa. I love that because why not do it in a fun way, right? Rather than the prescribed physical therapy, which just has no motivation except for I want more mobility. Whereas it's like, no, when I finish this, I'm going to be able to be a salsa dancer, So what a fun way to do that. And then as I've heard many stories about ayahuasca. So what happened with your journey with this beautiful plant medicine?
I know the interesting thing is like people don't believe this when I tell them, but the first time like nothing happened. I took like 5 cups. I was out in the middle of the jungle with a Taita that a friend had recommended, actually another military vet. He's like, dude, Jimmy's take ayahuasca, go try it. So I did. And nothing happened. I took 5 cups and I was so lost that the Taita looked at me as like, look, man, you're blocked. You're going to have to do some cleaning work. We can help you with that, but you're going to have to come back and take another time. And I thought he was like trying to pull my leg or, I was like, whatever, man. I've heard all these great stories about ayahuasca and here I am experiencing nothing, feeling like an idiot out in the middle of the jungle. And thankfully, Like, thank the creator, I tried it again.
Yeah.
And the second time was totally different. You know, it was like, well, I did experience something, and not only that, but I could see like all the stuff that I had happen in my life. Like most of what I was really going through at the time was my dad is a very conservative Christian, like evangelical. So I grew up homeschooled in the middle of a farm in North Carolina. Didn't get out much. Didn't watch Star Wars because I thought it was magic. Didn't listen to music, etc. And about 15 years ago, we had a big disagreement, mostly about religion, and he kicked me out of the family. Like, I haven't talked to my own mom in 15 years, if you can believe it.
Mm-hmm.
So that left me with some pretty incredible trauma when it came to family origin. And ayahuasca, instead of like saying, "Oh, that's fine," the ayahuasca showed me what it was like from my dad's perspective and the trauma and pain that he had gone through. And I was like, whoa, this is next level stuff. Like, so I started to have compassion for my dad, and I started my healing journey. And from then it was on. Like, I just felt really called to the medicine, and I live here in Colombia, where you can take it every weekend if you want to. And I started that, and I was adopted by a local medicine woman, Abuela Gloria. So she runs Pascal and Vision Quest, and she's on the Red Road, the Native American traditions to the north. And so I started with her, and then I started working at a Yahe center, and then I started picking up music, and it was just like for the last 4 or 5 years, that's been my entire life, and couldn't be happier.
And Scottie has a very big smile on his face for anyone listening. He is definitely, and he's wearing yellow. Like, you're just the epitome of joy. I'm staring at you. So yeah, he's dancing. Anyway, and that's amazing. And I love that. Thank you for providing that contrast too, for people to know that sometimes if you're not ready for it and you are too blocked, that nothing is going to happen when you go down those processes. Because it's very similar when people meditate, or, they try and connect with their higher self or their oversoul, or go on these journeys. If they're not ready for it, their soul's not ready for it, for whatever blocks, then, it won't happen, and I love that there's that kind of ethical thing from a spiritual point of view too. Like, actually, no, you're not ready for it. It's not going to happen for you right now.
Yeah, I think maybe it's less you're not ready for it, and more like, so there's an interesting point here to note about the difference between Western and sort of spiritual or indigenous medicine. So my wife is actually a medical doctor here in Colombia. She takes the medicine as well. And so it's really interesting having these conversations with her. So the Western idea of medicine is like, I have a headache and I take a Tylenol and the headache goes away. So your understanding and knowledge and awareness of, is the medicine working, is dictated by your own conscious experience of what happens to you. But with these plant medicines, sometimes that's not something that you can really pick up. So it's the first time, even though I experienced nothing, the medicine was still working. And how I explain it to people that I work with that come into ceremonies is like, look, how old are you? I was 34 at the time. So I had 34 years worth of crap for the medicine to sort through. It's like, all right, hold on a minute. We're going to start doing some filing. So it's working on you like anyway. And so part of what I encourage people to do is like have patience with themselves and faith in the medicine that is working regardless. That's not to say that that's your healing modality, but if you're feeling called to it, it's the likelihood that you're ready is probably pretty high, but you may not feel something, and that's very much okay. And then one little quick note on this as well. Most people associate ayahuasca with a certain set of things and experiences. So they go in with these like perceptions of, I got to be seeing visions, I got to do this, I got to feel this, that may not be your experience, because in my understanding, the medicine communicates with us in different ways. Like, for instance, myself, I almost never see visions. It's like maybe 1 out of 100 times that I take the medicine. So for me, it's like it comes in mental downloads and understandings and body sensations. So, have patience with yourself the first couple times. Sometimes it takes a while, and then also have a openness to how the medicine is personally communicating with you would be my advice there.
It's funny you say that, because when I go to interview people on the podcast, I don't read anything about them till I'm about to go in. And the reason is because I rather be surprised and ask you questions and not come in with expectations. And even my history is as a speech language pathologist, and people like kids would come from another clinic with reports and I never read them. And the parents were like, have you read the report? I said, no, I'd just rather start with a clean slate and not have expectations, and I guess it's the same for any spiritual experience. You're better off going in just being open and not expecting anything from it. For me, like I've done breath work, and my first breath work experience was very horrific. Like it needed to happen. There was psychic surgery and all this pain, and but it needed to happen. And then it took me a while to go back. Like my ego was like, we're never doing that again. And then like 6 months later, it's like, maybe. And then we did go back, and it was a lot more joyful. But again, I just kept learning how to go in with no expectations, because it's when you go in, like you said, just letting the medicine do what it needs to do, that then that real magic and truth can come through.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just put the ego aside. If you could solve your own problems, you would have. So just be open. Like I think I've come to my personal realization or understanding for me is that basically everything the mind does is just exactly the opposite of what the medicine does. So like the most you can just stop thinking. It's kind of like meditation, right? Like you start thinking in meditation, or you get caught up in your thoughts. Like that's kind of not the point. Same thing with plant medicine, and I think that's also something that I would love to have more people understand, is like also in the Western context. It's like you sit back, you pop a pill, and you kind of wait for the things to happen. I think the indigenous understanding of medicine is more like this is a 50-50. Like you got to come and get ready to work, humble yourself and like go to work kind of thing.
It's funny because I haven't done ayahuasca, but I've had rapé, and people are like, what happens when you have rapé? And I said, for me, it turns the voices off. Like it just gives me that, I guess, at the time, but then it got to a point where my soul just didn't want that anymore, because it needed it for that certain amount of time to get used to believing what was coming through without the little voices discounting it, I guess, for the biggest thing. But exactly what you said, you have to have that 50-50 relationship.
Yeah, very, very powerful tool, Roté. I use it daily and have for about 4 years. That's an interesting one, because especially since we have so much in our culture a history of abusing oil tobacco. It's a tricky one. And then if you go in, like for those that don't know what rapé is, it's typically mapacho tobacco that's dried and pulverized into a powder, and then sometimes mixed with different ashes of Amazonian plants. And it's a very powerful experience. One of the problems is, though, it has 9 times the level of nicotine that normal tobacco has. So if you're not really, really careful about the intention, you end up using it quite a lot. And I've seen not only less I've seen it, and more I've experienced that. Like I had to, just over the last couple of weeks, recalibrate my relationship with the tobacco and apologize for using it too much, because you get to the point where you want to turn the voices off. Well, I want to do that while I'm watching a movie, and boop, boop. And you got to be really careful.
And if anyone's curious, you actually get it blown up your nose, so it goes in one nostril and in the other nostril, and it's a little bit traumatizing when you first do it, I have to say, because it's so unexpected. But it's I'm glad you brought that up, because my mentor, she started doing it a lot, and she actually found herself the same thing. She's like, oh wait, I'm using it way too much. I've become like a little bit addicted to it, and she had to consciously pull back, whereas my soul was like, no, we've had enough now, we're done. So it's really interesting, I guess, how different souls and bodies take it and react to it. And it was really cool that you said, you had to repair that relationship because you hadn't realized that you'd become dependent on it, I guess, or more than dependent. I guess so.
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, like the fact that you were able to sort of recalibrate that on your own is amazing. Speak of the devil, I'll take some now. I think it's important that one of the things that we do often in the plant medicine world and in the psychedelic space is like, this is amazing, and we just talk about the amazing, beautiful parts of it. But everything in life, there's reciprocity in everything. There's a give and a take. So I think it's important that we talk about, well, when you're taking a plant medicine, when you're ingesting or working with a plant, like what is it asking from you? And what are the dangers? And how can we educate people about that? Not just like, everybody should take ayahuasca, let's put it in the water supply. Just be more careful and measured. And that's the same thing that the indigenous will tell you, I think.
Yeah, and I feel that even extends to just any herb or any plant that you work with. Like even we think about tea, people don't really think about when they have a cup of tea, the energy that comes from that. And, because I have my little apothecary, and I channel through what herbs I need for that day or what the person needs for that day, and then I make them the tea. But it's also about honoring the plant in itself and calling in, if you can, like that spirit that's the diva of that plant. And if you can do that, then then it truly will create like that healing experience at a different level rather than just saying, I'm having a cup of tea, so.
That's such a good point. Like I think one of my taita, he's from the Siona tribe, and well, officially in Ecuador. They're technically Colombian, but they officially live on the other side of the river in Ecuador. I'm actually going to go visit him in about 2 weeks, and in their ceremonies, in the Siona ceremonies, they're one of the oldest tribes in Colombia that have been working with the medicine. They don't allow mambe or ambil. So mambe is powdered coca, toasted powdered coca. Ambil is a tobacco paste, and obviously rapé we just talked about. So they don't allow any medicines in ceremony, and it's brutal. It is just absolutely brutal. It's like the fire is low. They wait until like 3 in the morning to start any music, so you're just sitting there suffering. And I was like, man, I hate this. Like, this is the worst. It's like, why are you making us do this? And I had to ask him for like 3 months straight before he gave me a solid answer, which is also a thing that the indigenous scientists will do. He's like, look, he didn't explain it to me. He waited for me to find out the answer on my own, and that is that oftentimes we over rely on the medicines in their physical form to do what we can gain from them by connecting with them in their spiritual form.
Yeah.
So if you want the voices to stop, my strong belief is that you can connect with the energy of Abuelo Tobacco. And you bring in that, like there's this wonderful song that I sing by a good friend of mine, Juancho Piedemonte. Abuelo Tobacco, tú me acompañas por donde quiera que yo vaya. Vas ordenando el pensamiento and I forget the rest of the line, but it's basically you accompany me wherever I go, Abuelo Tobacco, and you order my thoughts and you help quiet my mind. And by connecting with the energy of tobacco, you can receive those benefits. And by connecting with the energy of coca, madre coca, you can receive energy and sustenance and strength. And so I think that what that tradition is trying to teach us to do is to not over rely on the physical forms of the medicine and instead connect to the energetical and spiritual forms.
Yeah, and connecting with plant allies and spirit plants, it's so powerful, and it's something that's not really talked about as much. And I was very blessed to work with a lady called Jackie Bushell, and that's her vibe. Like, she'll just teach plant wisdom and how to let the spirit plants come in and work with you. And for me, because I live surrounded by the eucalyptus gums, I work a lot with the eucalypts. And the eucalypt came in and I was like, oh yeah, like, so whenever I need that courage or that strength, I call on their strong trunks and to stand tall. But then when I met mugwort, like the spirit of mugwort, it was just like, oh my goodness, you do not mess with mugwort. Like if you want to feel really protected and really feel like everything's being taken care of, you call him mugwort. And it's just the energy is unexplainable because it's like, whoa, and I get why people then like to have it as a tea and to put it under their pillow because it just enhances everything, but at the same time in a protective way. So it's really interesting to work.
We should probably put an asterisk here in the show notes somewhere. I'm a plant witch as well.
Oh,
and so I have here growing in my garden quite a few varieties of. I basically bought like all the varieties of the European witchy herbs. Most of them are incredibly poisonous.
Mm-hmm.
So be very, very, very careful for those that are listening about what you put in your tea, and please get to know the plant before you do anything that you ingest. The concepts.
100%. Don't go picking berries in the woods if you don't know what berries you're picking, right? Same with mushrooms. Don't go mushroom foraging unless you have someone that can recognize the mushrooms for you, right? Like it's the same, self-preservation things. Like you're not going to pick a toadstool. If you want a saffron milk cap, get someone to teach you what a saffron milk cap looks like before you actually go foraging for it. So yes, thank you for bringing that up.
With the energies, right? It's like sometimes I think the West, like I fought this against myself, as well. Like the ego is one of the greatest. Brief side note: I'm working on having the ego be my ally. Not like I used to think of it as like an enemy to be sort of erased, and now like how can you be my ally?
Same.
But the ego kind of gets away with us, right? We take Yahé once or twice, and we're like, I'm going to get certified to certify ayahuasca. Please don't do that, just FYI. And please be very careful, when you start doing things on your own. It's not saying that exploration is bad, but I hope that more people are mindful and respectful of the traditions and the ways in which we use plants. And so seek out a guide, an instructor, a medicine woman, a medicine man that can kind of help teach you into these things, because it's not just a physical thing. It's like sometimes these plants will open doors that you are not prepared what's going to come through.
Yeah, and it's so true because, and it's even like I was saying with my breathwork journey, I never expected to go through all that pain and everything, but I needed to go through that pain because I needed to learn to reclaim myself in those moments that was quite painful. So it's like, when you learn to empower your soul, you understand that the plants or any allies you work with in whatever realm are only there to support you on your journey. They're not there to push you. Oh, sometimes they do push you, but you know what I mean? They're not there to go, we're going to do all the work. It's actually, no, we're here to hold the space and support you rather than, keep pushing you if you're not going to do it.
Yeah, a great point. And then one quick side note on that, kind of related to the fact that we don't talk about the other side, the shadow side of the medicines.
Mm-hmm.
This is a really big conflict for me for a while because if you go down to the Amazon, you Westerners know ayahuasca is a plant that's like a wonderful plant teacher and here to help you, etc. If you go down to the Amazon, there are people that use it for bad purposes as well, for sorcery, for witchery, those sort of things. And that was a really big conflict for me. It was like, well, I thought like ayahuasca is just all good and all light. And why can somebody use it for sorcery if it has the consciousness of a plant? And I sort of feel that these plant teachers are a bit more impartial than we sometimes give them credit for. You can use it for many purposes, and not all of them are good. So yeah, I guess that's an additional note of caution.
Yeah, and I guess that's what we come back to, circling what you said before, the intention that you set before you engage in the plant medicine and the intention that you set before you go on any meditation or expedition, and it's not about being scared of the shadow side either, because if you put a fear on it, then that's actually going to play out in your life. But rather it's like, okay, well, this is a part of me and I needed to be shown this and highlighted that in order to accept all parts of me and love the dark and the light, because you always need that balance. And it's funny what you brought up before, how you weren't allowed to watch Star Wars, because it's such a perfect example of the dark and the light. Like Rey was my favorite because she embraced both sides of herself, so it's really interesting how you've just evolved from that now to be living in this balance, right? So
yeah, I'm kind of a huge Star Wars nerd now. Actually, I have a little Yorkie Terrier that they affectionately call him Taita Chewie, and he goes to all the ceremonies with me. We've like traveled motorcycles, so yeah, he's named Chewbacca after Star Wars. And one of the interesting things about Star Wars is if you grow up as a kid, Jedis are the best. And when you really get down to it, like their belief set is like the elimination of emotion and no attachments. It's like, not sure if that's the best thing. And so like you have the light side that's like very like overbalanced on one side, and then you got the Sith on the other. And maybe the balance is better demonstrated by Ahsoka Tano, who is a gray Jedi. It's like, what I'm gonna figure out my own integration of this. So of all the Jedi, like I would say that I really respect Ahsoka Tano the most for that reason. It's, like you said, it's integrating both sides, and my primary spirit guide is the coyote. In fact, I named my ceremonial center the Coyote Teepee. So I got like a Lakota style teepee in the middle of Colombia, and it's like Coyote Teepee, Coyote Teepee. And the coyote is one of the best, in my opinion, examples of integrating both sides, because just the way he teaches is very infuriating, but it is what it is. Yeah.
I work a lot with oracle cards, and the amount of times I've pulled the coyote out of my spirit animal deck, I'm like, really? Again? I'm like, okay, here we go. We're ready for a bit of a ride, because it's kind of got that trickster energy with him, like where you think,
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's really interesting working with coyote. For me lately, the bears come up a lot, like with people, my clients and things. And like, because I love the bear. Like one of my power animals, the bear. Power animal? Totem. So my totem animal's a bear, which is, the healer of healers. And then we've got my spirit animal, which was like actually my first proper meditation, which I did with Rapé. I met my spirit animal, which was a stag. And then...
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I was just like...
That's a very druidic animal. Are you into druidry by any chance?
This keeps coming up, and thank you, Scottie. I need to pull this out more, because it's funny. I got given this symbol and I had to find it, and I went to this market because I just felt pulled to go to this local markets, and my husband's like, hey, look at these, because he was looking at this in Bretching. Oh my goodness. Scottie's showing me this stag deck right next to me.
It's a druidic animal deck.
I'm going to have to get the name of it.
The one I like the most is the is the Native American card deck built by Jamie Sands, but the Druidic card deck is also fantastic.
Oh my
There's
God.
I'm not sure if you remember of it, but there's actually an International Order of Druidry. Or where are you from originally? Like your genetics?
So part of my family is Italian and the other part is Irish. So
There we go.
yeah, which is where the witchy kind of comes through, that Irish Celtic side, and that
Yep.
but the Druidry, like when my husband was at this market and found the stag thing, next to it was a rock etched with this symbol I kept seeing. And the guy's like, I don't know, it's some druid symbol. I don't actually know what it means. And I still have this rock. I'm going to take a photo and send it to you after this because no one
Yeah,
can
please
tell me
do.
what it means. So it's
Is
like,
it does it have like a vertical line on it with other lines going out?
kind of, it's got like circles and triangles. Anyway, I have to find it. I've packed it, but I
Very
will
cool.
find it. But anyway, we'll have
Yeah.
this conversation after. But yeah, it's really interesting because Druidry keeps coming up, and even yeah, symbols and signs and things like that. So it's really, when you're curious about it and keep following it, it's amazing where it ends up being. And then look, you're in front of me here going, oh, look, I'm talking, have you done Druid stuff? I'm like, oh, there we go. So
Yeah, well, I mean, also you've got two trees, painting of two trees behind you,
mhm,
and
mhm.
the fundamental sort of belief set of the Druidic order is, well, the name Druid means keeper of the wisdom of the trees. So, like the first thing I think you said to me before we started this conversation was like, hey, I'm like channeling trees. It's like, interesting.
Thank you. I'm writing that down right now. Keeper and wisdom of the trees. Because I laugh because I have a coach, and we were talking about what we wanted to be when we were older, or like, visions of ourselves, like if we were old. And I said, I keep seeing myself as the wise old woman sitting under the tree telling the stories to the younger generations.
Hey, there's three orders of like three levels you can go into as a druid, and the first order is the bard order, which are the musicians and the storytellers. So like I think that's definitely something to explore. That'd be my input for you.
Thank you. Thank you, Scotty. I'm very excited. This is why I do podcasts, everybody listening, because I learn so much from everybody else. And I'm always trusting the divine and the universe to connect me with people I need to know. So I love that. Anyway, so back to you. Now we've had this segue into Druidry. I love it. So then, as your hippie musician, we were talking about how you use then tune in with, let me get this right. You tune into the plant's energy to help you create the music. Is that right? Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
How does
Yeah.
that work?
So, well, I mean, one thing you'll find, and there's so many reasons why I've created this course. I've created a completely free learn how to play, sing, and all this stuff with medicine music. And so as I got started here in Colombia, there's a lot of different tribes that work with the yahe plant or ayahuasca plant, or brew rather, because it comes from two certain plants in different ways. And so each one of the tribes has their different melodies and their different strums. And over time, they figured out that communicating with the plant communicating with them, that there are particular frequencies that the medicine likes, right? So as a musician, you have to play guitar, and then you have to, or tambour or harmonica or whatever you play, charango, ukulele, or just singing. And then over time, you figure out that they're, oh, interesting. Like when I sing it in this song in the ceremony in this way, like it resonates better. And here in Colombia, we've got this really unique, interesting mix of musical traditions. We have the Andean peoples. The Andes comes through Colombia and then splits into three different cordilleras or mountain chains. And so we've got the Andean influences, we've got the jungle influences, and the sort of songs that you hear in a Yahe ceremony here are like anything, unlike anything you've ever heard in the world. So like in Peru, they're doing more icaros. Here in Colombia, it's like a lot of guitar and a lot of harmonica, and it's just like it's so beautiful. And one of the things I think that I've found when working with the plants is we I am looking for ways to give back. And part of the ways that I'm getting back is to help people understand and create more visibility for the tribes and the musical traditions of the people that have safeguarded this plant for us for so many thousands of years. And so I'm just so happy to be able to help people explore their own voice and creativity. A friend of mine once told me, he said, the Great Spirit gave you a voice because he wants you to hear it. And so we get into ceremony and people are like listening to the songs and they're connecting with it. And they don't sing, they don't shake a rattle, they don't beat on something. And I was like, hey guys, sing with us. because everyone's energy goes into the ceremony. And so what I'm trying to do is provide people a way to learn without having cost be a barrier. And so we started this about 4 months ago. In those 4 months, we are almost up to 7,000 students, if you can believe it, and it's growing fast. And I'm just very, very happy to be doing my part to continue this prayer.
Which is beautiful. So beautiful. So, as we finish our time together, Scottie, what is something you could heal or change in the world? What would that be?
I would say we individually need to take the responsibility for our own healing. We can't push that off on plants. We can't push that off on therapies. We can't push that off on church or meditation.
Yeah.
We have to take responsibility for our own lives and acknowledge with peace and compassion that things have happened to us and that we have problems because of that, but refuse to pass off the responsibility to anything or anyone else. And I think if we all did that, if we took ownership of our own actions and our own healing and stopped looking for a magic key, the world would be a much better place.
Yeah, and that's such a beautiful sentiment, because I think when we think of the meditations as plant medicine, as everything is just a vehicle, and rather it's not taking over the responsibility and coming from your soul to do the work, then that's such an powerful, impactful statement. Thank you, Scottie. And if people want to find you or find your free course, which is very exciting, where can they go?
Yeah, they can go to coyotipi.com. So that's COYOTIPI.com. Coyotipi. And so we have everything there. We're actually coming out very soon. In fact, tomorrow I'm going to a wonderful facilitator medicine family of mine, and we're going to create a course on ayahuasca and yahe, which goes into all the medical stuff. Like, I've seen documentaries about it, but I've never seen a course about it. So we're going deep, man. So we're constantly putting out courses. In fact, before I hopped on this podcast, as part of the medicine music course, my friend Sofia Del Mar has started to create a course specifically around women and unlocking the voice and connecting it with your feminine power so that we can get more women singing in ceremony. So please come join us. Please put your voice into our community so that we can help you succeed in whatever you want to succeed at, and that you can help us produce even more valuable things. And that's what really gets us going.
I love that so much. I got goosebumps when you were sharing that. That's very, very cool. And I'll make sure I put it in the show notes as well. So if anyone's driving or didn't quite get the spelling of Coyote TP, then it'll be there. So it's all good. And thank you so much for being on the show and sharing your adventures, Scottie, and just bringing your joy and your passion and doing what you're doing in the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I know this is a lot of work, so I appreciate you bringing this platform so that other voices can be heard. Thank you for the work that goes into that. I know it's a lot.
Thank you. Thanks. Thank you for listening to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We have so much love and gratitude that you have taken the time out of your day to empower you on your healing journey. The views shared by the person being interviewed might not necessarily reflect that of the host and should be used in your own discernment. Trust what resonates for you and follow your heart and soul guidance. If you have any underlying medical conditions or mental health issues, please consult with your healthcare provider before pursuing any of the recommendations. Likewise, you can always contact the person being interviewed to find out more information. This can be found in the show notes. Until next time, remember to activate, align, heal, empower, and find love in everything that you do.